I'm Nathan Grounds, Coalition Coordinator for the Northeast Texas Coalition Against Substance Abuse.
I'm Joseph Byram, Coalition Coordinator for the Piney Woods Substance Abuse Coalition.
I'm Rebecca Smith, Coalition's Program Director at our parent nonprofit, Next Step. Today we're going to talk about prescription drugs. While many kids your age might be prescribed medication, we're going to talk about the dangers of misusing and abusing prescription drugs. That's when someone takes a medication inappropriately, such as taking more than what is recommended or without a prescription.
We'll talk to you about the science behind how prescription drugs can impact your brain, your health, and the legal consequences for using. We'll also talk about how fewer teens may be using than you think, and ways you can deal with stress other than misusing or abusing prescription drugs. We'll also talk about ideas for how to say no if prescription drugs are offered to you.
So when we say prescription drugs, what are we talking about? There are three main types of prescription drug: opioids, depressants, and stimulants. Opioids are used to relieve pain, depressants help to relieve anxiety, and stimulants increase brain activity and are typically used to treat ADHD. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, misusing or abusing prescription drugs can cause serious harm, including irregular heartbeat, drowsiness, nausea, seizures, and even death. Sometimes when we talk to students, they feel like many of their peers around them are using prescription drugs inappropriately. But that's just not the case. The vast majority of students don't misuse or abuse prescription drugs at all.
Prescription drug misuse and abuse has been steadily dropping among teens in East Texas. This is according to the Texas School Survey, an anonymous survey conducted by researchers at Texas A&M every 2 years. Before you think students aren't being honest, you should know researchers have ways of weeding out students who don't take the survey seriously.
According to this survey, more than 94% of 7th through 12th graders in East Texas said they don't misuse or abuse prescription drugs. That means over 9 out of 10 students don't take prescription drugs inappropriately. Now, you may hear of students misusing prescription drugs because it's something students like to talk about. Students often like to talk about things that get them in trouble, but that doesn't mean it's happening often. Think about it like this. People talk about shark attacks or winning the lottery much more than either of those things happen to.
The important thing for you to remember is that even if it sometimes feels like everyone is doing it, the reality is only a very small percentage misuse prescription drugs. You don't have to use it to fit in. Now let's talk about the dangers of prescription drug misuse and abuse.
You should know, the impact of prescription drug misuse or abuse can be very harmful to a teen's developing brain. Our brains continue to develop until we reach our early to mid-20s. Misusing or abusing prescription drugs can affect judgment and inhibition, which puts adolescents at a heightened risk for misusing other kinds of drugs and engaging in risky behaviors.
Prescription drugs can be highly addictive. 90% of prescription drug abuse starts in high school, and of those who use, 1 in 5 started before the age of 14. Furthermore, people who abuse opioids are 40 times more likely to become addicted to heroin. According to the Mayo Clinic, people who abuse prescription drugs can develop a physical dependence and experience withdrawal symptoms if they try to cut back or stop using. This makes it difficult to stay off of the drug.
While prescription drugs can help a lot of people, never forget that prescription drugs can be very harmful if they end up in the wrong hands. The majority of teens who misuse prescription drugs receive them from family or friends, and you never know how someone else's prescription drugs can affect you. 2 people can take the same amount of a substance and have 2 very different results. This is because everyone has different tolerance levels, body mass, and genetics.
Here's an illustration to show what we mean about how different people can react differently to different kinds of drugs. We have 3 white powders here. Let's say each powder represents a person with different tolerance levels, body mass, and genetics. The first one will be Joe. The second one will be me, Nathan. And the third will be Rebecca. Let's say they are all 3 at a party and decide to take Joe's prescription drugs. Let's see what happens when Joe takes the drug. Joe doesn't have a negative reaction. Let's see what happens when Nathan takes the drug. Nathan is lucky. Nothing negative happens to him either. What about Rebecca? As you can see, Rebecca did have a negative reaction. Maybe she was allergic, or the dosage was too high, or she was on another medication that reacted with the drug. There are so many factors at work. Hopefully this illustration drives the point home that it's just too risky for you to take someone else's prescriptions. Here's another risk to think about. Over half of all drug overdoses in the United States are caused by prescription drug misuse. In 2019, over 50,000 people died from an opioid overdose. That's equivalent to over 300 Boeing 737 airline crashes.
Prescription drug misuse can also lead to mood changes, a decreased ability to think, heart failures, breathing issues, and seizures. Prescription drug misuse is especially dangerous when combined with other substances like alcohol. Research from the National Institute on Drug Abuse shows that people who misuse or abuse prescription drugs are more likely to have changes in their mood, perceptions, and behavior.
We should also mention having prescription drugs in your possession. Having prescription drugs not prescribed to you on a school campus is a felony, one of the most serious types of crimes which will be on your record forever. This can look bad on college applications and job applications, and could prevent you from reaching these goals.
Some teens who misuse prescription drugs say it helps them deal with stress, but what are some other ways you can deal with stress that aren't illegal or harmful to your health?
Play a sport.
Write in your journal.
Talk to a friend?
Or an adult who cares.
Hey, Dad.
Oh, hey guys.
This is the Sources of Strength wheel. As you can see, it has many different aspects you can include in your life to help you whenever you're going through a tough time. Things like improving your physical health or your mental health, your spirituality or generosity. You can include healthy activities in your life, or you can have mentors and positive friends or family support. It's important to have as many aspects as you can to help you when you're going through a tough time.
How many of you remember the parachute game in gym class when you were in elementary school? Think about how many students it took around the parachute to get it to work. Think of the sources of strength like that. The more you have, the better off you'll be. You'll have lots of options for things to turn to other than substances like prescription drugs.
The last thing we want to talk to you about today is ways you can say no whenever prescription drugs are offered to you. It's really important to have an answer ready just in case. Joe, how would you say no?
I would just say no thanks. What about you, Rebecca?
I don't know, I would need some kind of excuse, like I would be too scared to try because of all those deaths around the country.
Whatever your way to say no is, give it some thought before someone even asks.
That's all we wanted to share with you today about misusing or abusing prescription drugs. Remember that more than 9 out of 10 teens don't use. Look for other healthy ways to deal with stress, and have a plan in place for how you will say no if someone offers you prescription drugs. Thanks for listening.
We know you're going to do amazing things.
Have a great year, stay safe, and we hope to see you on campus again soon.
Bye.